Here in the picturesque little village of Colnbrook near Windsor is one of the oldest surviving pubs in the UK. But a few centuries ago, a landlord named John Jarman had a very interesting side business, because he was the perfect landlord to his wealthiest customers, but these were the customers that never checked out. Hey everybody, Matt and
Danielle,
back with you on our Halloween season, and we are currently in a little town or village called Colnbrook. We're just a few miles from Heathrow Airport, not far off Windsor in London. Behind me is a pub called the Ostrich, and it's reported that this pub might be something like the third oldest surviving pub in the UK. But it also has a very, very grisly history, because it's said to also be the location of 60 murders. And there was at one point, going back a few centuries, a landlord called John Jarman who ran the place with his wife. Now, as it is today, people might stop here before they do the last few miles to the airport. You could just hear the planes are constantly around us this morning. And if they were very, very wealthy, he would make sure they were very well looked after, and he would let them stay in what was called the Blue Room. But the Blue Room was the last place these customers would ever see alive. So when the customers went into the Blue Room, they would go to bed, and it was noted for some reason that the bedposts seemed to be screwed to the floor. And what would happen, some point overnight, that bed would suddenly collapse and drop like a trapdoor opened, and into the kitchen below there would be a huge vat of either boiling water or boiling fat. And the people would, from that bedroom, would fall, drop into it, and essentially they would burn to death in this vat. What Jarman and his wife would then do is they would dispose of the body in a nearby brook, and what items the traveller had, they would sell to the local gypsies to make, it's a bit like a side profit, if you will. But yeah, it's rumoured that there were potentially up to 60 people this happened to. Now, I'll tell you in a minute, it does sound very similar to another more famous story. But yeah, how true is it? So, possibly victim number 60 was a man called Thomas Cole, a very wealthy man, and he arrived here on his horse and was once again led to the Blue Room, and once again he suffered the same fate. The bed gave way into the trapdoor, through and into the kitchen. And what they hadn't reckoned on, Jarman and his wife, was the horse was actually outside, and it kind of escaped and ended up wandering the town here at Colnbrook. We'll have a little look around in a moment. So some local people found it and realised it belonged to Thomas Cole, so they put up a huge search. Could they find Cole? Where would he be? And of course one of the places they came to was right here at the Ostrich Inn, and that is where it was discovered what exactly was going on. So John Jarman's wife apparently admitted what was going on here, but at this point John Jarman himself had fled, and he was soon tracked down and found in a little woodland near Windsor. And yeah, they both kind of pleaded guilty and were hanged for their crimes. Now, exactly if this did happen or not is a little bit strange, because the story was written about in I think the very early 19th century in a book, but it was a book by somebody who'd possibly picked up stories along the way. So it could have been one of those stories that had been passed down from century to century, word of mouth. Remember, this does date back almost to the 12th century. Lots of things weren't written down then. But it is an interesting one, and it certainly has been around for 200 years, 250 years perhaps. But we don't know for definite, and there's no kind of record of a John Jarman existing. There's also the possibility that the pub itself is only from 1500, but I think a lot of this is people with sour grapes. They want more. So many pubs are saying I'm the oldest pub still in existence, including an area we're going to later. But yeah, it's a fascinating story, and like I mentioned, it does sound very similar to something else. It's a very beautiful spot. So the reason Colnbrook is said to have got its name is it's named after Thomas Cole, who was the last victim, and the fact that the victim sounds a bit macabre really, that the victims were thrown into the brook after they'd been boiled and whatever else was left of them. And interesting, we are just next to the brook here. I'll show you. So, what does this story remind you of?
Sweeney Todd?
Yeah, Sweeney Todd, a demon barber at Fleet Street, who also had a trapdoor. If you remember, he'd sit his victims in the chair, he'd be shaving them and then just slice their throats, push a button and down they would drop. The difference is, I think, Sweeney Todd's victims were made into pies. Yeah. Is that right?
Disappointed didn't eat these people.
Yeah, there's no rumour, no suggestion that anything happened to their bodies once they disposed of them here, other than throw them in the brook.
Why fry or boil them?
Well, yes, indeed. But yeah, definitely Sweeney Todd, and I think that's quite a well-known link. And yeah, when I looked at this story, it reminded me of an episode of Jonathan Creek called The Grinning Man, where people stop in a room and then they just vanish and they can't figure it out. It's exactly the same thing. Spring-loaded bed down through the trapdoor. Yeah, I remember that episode quite well. I think it was a Christmas one, but yeah, it is interesting. What did they do? I think they were just burning them or something. I can't quite remember. I don't think so. No. So unsurprisingly, the Ostrich, we're next to it now, is also rumoured to be one of the most haunted pubs in the UK. Here's just a few things that are said to have happened inside. So it suggested the ghosts are most likely the victims of John Jarman. The pub has had reports of strange noises, ghostly figures, objects moving by themselves, cold spots in the ladies' loo, which is where John Jarman apparently put the bodies before disposing of them, and customers say they have strong feelings of dread when inside. Okay, there we go. That is the gory history of John Jarman, the murdering landlord at the Ostrich Inn. I hope you've enjoyed that little tale. Again, whether it's true or not, who cares? It's a fabulous story and really fits into our Halloween season. But yeah, some say yes, some say no. Okay, we'll see you for the next one very, very soon. Take care. Bye for now.